Hi, I'm coming to you from North Stradbroke Island in Queensland. It's our retreat venue, something that we do when we're working with organisations as well as in the workplace. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about natural human design. You may not know about this concept. It has 6 principles that really make powerful change. So we're using it in organisations to look at transforming the way that we work. My background is over 20 years working with organisations in what we call people and culture and change, and looking at ways that we can support people, leaders, teams to be able to create some fantastic change that's going to adapt and help us be more resilient. So natural human design is something that has been refined by research from many people to start to go, why do things work? And one thing that I also do is I work in the area of Agile, and I've used it more in large scale people development projects. For example, a big government department rolling it out to 40,000 people. And now Agile is actually natural human design. Now if you've heard the word, you'll know that it's more IT programming, and what we're doing is some really powerful work in bringing it into how we do things to do anything really. And it's something that a lot of the sort of very progressive, innovative companies, especially small, medium-sized organisations, are doing. And it's something that I'm working with large organisations, just knowing how quickly they need to shift to something like this, so it makes it not just productive and successful, but a wonderful, fun, dynamic way to work. So I'll just go through how that all works. So generally Agile ways of working was created, and a whole array of people have signed this manifesto, and they have 4 simple principles, and there's so much has been built around it. So I've got a lot of technology tools and other things that I'll talk about in a second. For example, the first principle is individual interactions over processes and tools. So this is exactly what we use in our first principle called flow. So I'll go into that. Things like working outcomes over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change rather than following a plan. Now that freaks some people out, but generally the ability to constantly change and what we call iterate is key for any organisation, to make sure they're constantly checking with the client and stakeholders that things are exactly what we're looking for, and pretty dynamic. So I'll link that to the 6 principles of natural human design. So the first principle, flow over effort, is about making sure we're doing things in a way that people are really comfortable with. Often we use effort like being a bull, and I have seen some change projects that just haven't worked very well because they've been forced upon people. So we look at Agile, for example, as its ability to have clear ideas on what one's doing, but then do it in 2-week iterations. I'll go into that a little bit more when we look at some of the Agile things that we use. Connection. Everything as an Agile is based on individual interactions. So there are some really dynamic roles that people play. We have what we call a Scrum Master. So it's someone who actually facilitates making sure things are on track. You have a product owner, so someone that could be a manager, but someone who's constantly thinking about the outcome of what the team, for example, wants to achieve. And then you have the team members, but everybody is equal, playing different roles. As people each 2 weeks create what they want to do, it's done in a way where we use some technology to really say, okay, well, what are you doing today? We then daily have what we call stand-ups, where you go, okay, who's doing what's working, what might be holding me back, and what do I need? And it's a very quick, maximum 15-minute meeting, even with probably best to have teams up to 10 working on certain things. Now this can be used as BAU, or business as usual, and it's also about projects. And it's a great way, even if we're working virtually, to be able to quickly check in with team members, feel part of a team, and then be able to purely get on with tasks rather than having lots of different random meetings. So each person really knows what we call cards, what cards they're going to be doing in their task planner. Another thing that happens each 2 weeks is, first of all, doing the planning, so sprint planning, but then also doing the review. Now all of these things are merging definitely the first 3 principles. So flow how are we going to get things done in a way we can get on with it? I've worked with a lot of high-performing type of programs, and you've got to let people get into their flow. It's called the flow state. And if you're constantly talking about things rather than doing the task, you can get a bit distracted. And then connection, always having that chance to connect with people, to come up with better ideas together. And then lastly, the unknown. Some people aren't that familiar with that in a business work environment. It's about getting to the point where you're clearing space to be able to allow things to come in. And so that planning, we do some strategies with organisations where we're looking at breath work, helping a person get into their highest state so that they can actually come up with greater ideas rather than doing it in a forced, sort of stressed way. Ultimately, what that leads to, by using, for example, Agile, which is already aligned to the natural human design principles, is it allows us to be in a state where we're really joyously, happily coming up with some fantastic ideas. And what that is where we set intentions and then we attract the best ideas, opportunities through flow. So attraction is something we're looking at doing before we go into creating. Now, typically in an organisation that's a bit more what we call waterfall, they're traditional. They will come up with an idea, a plan, maybe it's 5 years, and then they will do the sense of what are we going to create. But then nobody really takes that time to say, well, what state of being am I in? Am I getting along with my team members? Am I really excited about this? Have I got my own buy-in to it? And so that's where attract is very powerful and needs to be before the idea of create. Now, most people deep down, and they might not be saying it openly, they want to do something that's meaningful and authentic. People want to be able to do something that they know isn't harming the planet, isn't harming people. And some of the, especially the IT savvy type organisations are proving that there are ways that we can create some amazing things and have a better footprint on our beautiful planet. So we're looking at that sort of transformation. That's what will get more engagement with your people. Lastly, the idea of intuit. Sounds like a new word, but it is actually in the dictionary. It's combining all 5 prior principles and then really honing at an individual level this ability to intuit, to be intuitive, to be able to go with things, be resilient, adaptable, responsive rather than reactive. Very, very powerful. And one thing I've really gotten excited about is that there are so many cool tools and things that are working. What we do is we do like a health check with an organisation and say, what are you using? And we can actually, if you look at the 6 principles, you can straight away say, look, that's got about 3 out of the 6 principles, so that's why it's working pretty well. These things are going to work amazingly. No wonder that is working really well because it's aligned to the natural human design approach. So nice and simple in the end. Some powerful things that can be done really quickly, and love to share some more success stories with you. So stay tuned, get involved, set it up in your own organisation and see how you can fly.